the way we handed the drugs out, it was like a bank teller's drawer sort of thing, because we were behind bulletproof glass and all that stuff. I don't know why, but we were. And every time we'd give him his prescriptions, he'd throw in a handful of free Dunkin' Donut, a free dozen Dunkin' Donuts. He was some sort of a bigger shot in Dunkin' Donuts, and he used to just throw these free dozen coupons at us every time he came. Sometimes he'd throw like 20 of them in there. So we'd split them up between us and raid the Dunkin' Donuts places on the way home. But that was cool. And when they used to make the donuts right there, they were really good. They were fresh and they're really good. Yeah, now I can't remember the last time I had one. Maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, but I wouldn't go out and buy a dozen donuts unless I was having company, and then maybe I would have one. But not a big donut guy. And when we get the kids the munchkins, I'll usually have one just for the heck of it. But there you go. And 3 years on Spam. I'm surprised at that. I'm wondering if you cooked up the Spam and then put it in the Tupperware or whatever that was in there, if those white spots were just grease. Or maybe you said they were little webby sort of things, like the real mold. If that's the case, yeah, heave it. But mold doesn't bother me that much. I probably would have cut it off and cooked it. When I have a good piece of cheese and it sits in the refrigerator for a while, a nice piece of cheddar, and I take it out and there's some mold on it, I just cut the mold off. And then I eat the cheese. It ain't gonna hurt you. So, depending on what I spend on something, I'll just cut the mold off. Even bread sometimes, there's a little piece of mold there, and there's no more bread, I'll just cut that off, so. And I'm still here, so. There you go. And Glenn, okay on the tailpipe. My vehicle, my truck, is 11 years old, and the tailpipe's still in good shape because it's stainless steel. But I remember the day, back in the day, when you'd have to get a muffler and a tailpipe every 24 or 30 months. You'd go to Midas Muffin, they'd put that cheap crap metal on, real thin crap metal, and those are the things that crapped out was the tailpipes. The mufflers had a lifetime warranty, so they were put together a little bit better, but the tailpipes were all planned obsolescence, 24 months or so. We'll see you back here. But not anymore. Can't remember the last time I had to have a tailpipe or a muffler replaced. They last forever. N1YTN. Ernie, I feel bad for you being a little kid and grabbing a hot tailpipe. Oh, jeez. And then I feel even worse for your mother. Yep. Sometimes you don't even think of things like that. N1YTN in the group, K1ETP.
Hey, Glenn. Toss it to me after you make one. Hello, Rich. I guess Ernie's going to head for the bus stop. WA3VJB.
You okay, Paul? Yeah, Ernie's going to head out here in just a couple minutes, according to my timepiece. Yeah. I tell you, I was smart enough to know I was not going to get out there this morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and grab that tailpipe. No, I knew better. I've done that. Not thinking. I can imagine. At 4 years old, grabbing hold of that thing, do what Mom wants me to do. Good God. Yeah, I bet that was hot. Well, I was smart enough. It sat there about an hour before it, well, of course, when I moved the car, the tailpipe wasn't hooked up. It wasn't hot at all. Ralph is good, he whip, and it was done, I pulled the car. The car's still quiet. Just I gotta get it fixed. Unfortunately. That's an old car. It's an '07, God, I remember years ago when I had my many old cars, beer can exhaust, 2 beer cans, and cut the ends off, cut them down the lengthways, pair of tin snips, wrap one around it, and wrap another one around that one, and then a couple of hose clamps, and it'll last a while. Quiet the car down, keep the cops from looking at you. Beer can exhaust. But geez, I couldn't afford to buy a exhaust system. Good grief, Especially that car that had a dual exhaust. My God, that was $600. That was back in the 80s. $600 for an exhaust system to fit that car. God, no, I couldn't afford that. Can't afford to fix what I got now, but it's got to be done. Got to be done. And I'm going to go with stainless steel. I don't know what the devil's under there. Probably original. Probably original, right from the Toyota factory. Anyway, I'm sure Arnie's going to bail out if he hasn't already. WA3VJB. Go ahead, Paul. This is M1YTN.
I'll grab it real quick. Yeah, I am going to walk out the door. Rich, it was, well, Glenn, I was envisioning you cutting like 2 Schaefer peel-back cans from the 70s when they were like actually good aluminum. But no, Rich, it wasn't the tailpipe. The exhaust rotted like right after the manifold. So I grabbed it at that point, probably the hottest point of the whole system. And I was going to drag the whole, exhaust pipe into the muffler and the tailpipe. So it's about as hot as I could have possibly got it. So, all right, I'm out the door. Paul, grab it away. Hopefully you're not crushing me. See you later. I'll be back.
No, I anticipated for some reason that you'd come back. KD2BRM out for now. N1YTN, K1ETP. Good afternoon, everyone, from Annapolis, WA3VJB at the top of the hour. Everyone sounding quite good. Rich, I heard you earlier say how signals are so strong here a little earlier in the afternoon. It's true. Really, really nice conditions right now. There's another QSO down from us a little bit, too. I think they're on 78 or something like that. Coming in pretty well. I'm just listening on the high side to counteract that. And everything's okay. Yeah, you guys talking about exhaust systems. I've been going through the original file, which is now about 1.5 inches thick, of my grandfather's 1964 Buick that I still have. He bought it brand new 60 years ago this month. And I was going through the file that I've kept all the minutia, receipts and things, and there's a lifetime warranty certificate in there, a little piece of card from Sears Roebuck. And I remember the very first one that he got was 1967, so it was 3 years old. And he got a new muffler from Sears on this lifetime warranty. And by about 1972 or 73, he had gotten, I think, 7 mufflers on the price of the original muffler. Now, it was his contention, just as you point out, that the tailpipe and probably an interconnecting pipe, the one in this car, goes over the axle and then reconnects on the way to the manifold. That's where they made their money on these lifetime guarantee things, where it was still the warranty still covered, gave you a new muffler, but it did not give you new pipe and it did not give you labor. So even at that, he had to pay, $12 or $18 for labor to get these new pipes in there. And yeah, they've gone to stainless. I think part of the reason for that is that the exhaust system is welded these days rather than clamped and telescoping. When I remember looking at the exhaust system on the 64, I remember the clamps, and they had slots in the receiving end of the pipe into which the somewhat crimped next pipe would go into it, kind of like your attachments on your vacuum cleaner hose. And yeah, I think now it's all welded, partly because of the catalytic converters, some of which have 2 catalytic converters in series. And all that stuff needs to be welded up, and there's also an embedded sensor in the exhaust system that probably wouldn't work right even if there was the smallest of leaks in a clamped system. So that, combined with the use of stainless steel rather than basic steel, is, I guess, an upgrade to keep them from having to pay anti-pollution control repair claims, because the catalytic converters have to be warranted. They have to last, I think, for 10 years or some period of time. So they probably figured that if they still used an old clamp-style exhaust system, they'd get these claims for service because the sensors were acting up. So, I mean, that's fine. I'm glad to see stainless on there. It's funny that Ernie should have the exhaust manifold breakage, because that, in turn, reminds me of my old Austin Healey, where the collector pipe and the clamp was the lowest part of the car, which already was pretty low. I could swear that the odd manhole cover was high enough to catch that collector pipe and rip it away from the pipe that followed, where Ernie grabbed it on his car. So I ended up using not a Schaefer beer can, but an orange juice can. Much thicker metal. And I'm talking frozen concentrate orange juice. That kind of a can. With a clamp on either side of it. And lots of this stuff called Holtz muffler seal, which was a silica-based stuff that when heated up was like a furnace cement. So I could hit stuff and it wouldn't bust loose. Ah, yes, great moments in exhaust pipage. Anyway, Ernie, well, Ernie's out of there for now. I'll save that for later. Rich, you're sounding good. I wonder if you've changed something. I heard Ernie make a reference to your audio. I'm hearing a lot of low end in there. I'm talking about sub bass in the headphones. It's almost as if I can feel your hand on the desk. It's that kind of a thump. Or maybe it's somebody walking around upstairs. It reminds me of Pete's 813 rig, WA1SOV, when his old oil burner would kick on. It sounded like an earthquake was firing up. It was really passing some low-end response. And you've got that in there today. I'm not objecting. I'm listening in headphones, and if I were listening on the hi-fi speaker, I could probably see the speaker cone, doing one of those things. So it's pretty cool, but I wonder what you did there. Here comes K1ETP in the group WA3VJB.
Yeah, all right, Paul. WA3VJB in the group K1ETP. Well, I'm on the Anon, and I've done nothing. I know this thing has a great low end because I can see it on the scope. When people are walking around upstairs, I can't really hear them, but I can see it on the scope. And the rumblings of the blower motor in the amplifier here, the AL1200, I can see. And when the furnace comes on, I can see that too. So that's good, I guess, if you're a low-end guy. But I guess you really need headphones and a decent receiver to appreciate it. So I'm not using any processed audio with the Anon here. This is just a cheap computer condenser mic, large diaphragm, eBay type mic, and it seems to do the job. So why spend the money? Yeah, I remember wrapping, boy, what was that stuff? I don't recall what it was, but it was a couple of bucks. It was a cloth embedded with some sort of cement, and you would get it wet, you would soak it, and then you would just wrap it around the hole in the exhaust pipe and give it a few hours to harden, and you were good to go. That stuff lasted quite a while. But not anymore. That used to be a main concern. I remember once we were on vacation, had all the kids they're all young, down the Cape, and driving our Olds 88, and the exhaust system went. I don't remember what it was, but I had to find a muffler place on a good beach day. I could have been at the beach and spend the afternoon in there while they replaced the muffler or the exhaust, whatever it was. I don't remember. That's back in the 80s. And didn't have to go far to find some place. They were on every corner. A Midas muffler or a what was the other one? The other big muffler chain there started with an A. Well, anyways, you don't see them anymore. The old Midas muffler shop here in Milford is, I think it's still called Midas, but it's Midas Car Repair now. They do no oil changes and basic repairs, tire changes and stuff like that. Because I don't think they make much money on exhaust systems anymore, which is a good thing. And yeah, I bet that's probably what happened with Ernie's mother. She probably had a low hanger there and it caught something when they went around the corner and it just ripped the whole thing off. Because I don't know, it's kind of hard to rip a whole or have a whole exhaust system drop off your car, because there's a few hangers, a couple of hangers at least, that'll hold everything up. And if something lets go, usually you'll be dragging it for a while. But she must have hit something at a fairly good rate of speed just to rip the whole thing off, all the hangers and everything. Which wasn't uncommon. I can remember going down the highway and seeing exhaust systems in the breakdown lane. That was an uncommon sight. Mattresses and exhaust systems. Now, you see the odd mattress every now and then, but not many exhaust systems. You see truck retreads. That's what seems to fill up the breakdown lane these days. Anyway, I am going to run upstairs for a minute, and I'll be back. I got to check the stove. I'm running the stove today, Paul. It's chilly up here, and it's a miserable, misty day. The wife and I were out for a while, and I had to keep the windshield wipers on. I couldn't even leave them on intermittent. They had to be on full because it was misting so hard it was almost like a rain. The type of mist that if you walked from the front door of the car in the driveway, you'd get soaking wet. So it's kind of a miserable day. And Glenn, they're talking snow. I don't know, the next couple days, probably up where you are. I don't know if we'll get it down here, but I heard that dreaded four-letter word on the weather, local weather here when I was half listening this morning. N1YTN in the group, K1ETP.
You okay, Rich? Yeah. Good afternoon, Paul. Oh, I don't think we're going to get any snow here. And we're talking, we might, but I'm too close to the coast. They're talking all rain here. Yeah, they're talking heavy rain this evening. And it is tomorrow, and tomorrow's it's supposed to, the rain's supposed to stop, and then that other front, this morning was out over the Great Lakes, Lake Huron on it, I think. They're going to blow in here, and they'll get snow, north of me, north and west of me, but where I'm close to the coast, they're talking all rain down through here. Now, I'm only, I guess where the crow flies, about 10 miles from the coast, if that. By driving, it'd take you 20 miles, but, where the crow flies, about 8-10 miles, something like that. So that's all they're going to get. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they had Meineke muffler shops, and Midas muffler shops. My buddy, what the devil's his name? Butch. Damien. was his real name, but his father owned all the Meineke muffler shops. No, it was Meineke or Midas? Meineke, I think, in New England. And when he died, of course, Butch's mother got the thing, and she sold the whole shooting match. Sold the whole thing. All the franchises, everything that he owned. I thought she made a fortune. Yeah, just to get him out of the house, she gave him an apartment building over in Lewiston. Butch, he drank a lot. I get a lot of stories about Butch, but as far as I know, he's still alive. I haven't seen him in years. The last time I saw him, he was still pounding the liquor to him, but he worked for the longest time for Brinks Security guard on an armored car. But he said he got tired of that because, you know, I'm in the private sector. I don't work for the military. But the guy, you know, that ran the shop where he was out of, you know, he treated it as though it was you know, you're in the Army or you're in the Marines or something like that. You got to have this certain haircut, and you got to be dressed a certain way. If your shoes aren't shining, you know, you get reprimanded for it. And, you know, this guy was just he's a retired Marine or something like that. I'm not going to say anything bad about those guys, but this guy was a real jarhead. Let's put it that way. Good God, Butch said, "To hell with that. I'm not working here anymore." But Butch says, I said, "How many guns you carry?" Oh, he says, I got an AR. He says, I carry a sidearm. He says, I got a boot gun. So I'm sitting in the back of the truck most of the time, guarding the money. You never know what's going to happen. And his boss used to send him into Boston. He hated making that Boston trip. He said, "There's a lot of nuts down there." He said, "Geez, you got your piece pulled all the time down there." He did not like that whatsoever. Well, anyway, that's enough out of me for now. Yeah, I'll get my exhaust fixed. Oh, here comes my new guitar case. Oh. Oh, goodness. Alright, I got a brand new guitar case so I can... Oh, my old guitar case went to pieces on my Fender flat top. And Trish bought me a new guitar case for it. Now I gotta find one for my Ovation. I never had one for that. I bought that old Ovation guitar used. That old Fender I've had for 40 years. Original case crapped out years ago. Well, and there's a brand new guitar case right there. So I'm gonna go get myself a beer. WA3BJB for minimum white gin. Go ahead, Paul.
All right, Glenn. I can just picture you on a street corner somewhere with that brand new guitar case opened up, people tossing some currency in there as you play. Yeah, it's a pretty good run, though. 40 years on the original case. I wonder if you got a one of those custom jobs that's got the lining in it and the little accessory case to put your picks in and all that. A friend of mine has a Rickenbacker 12-string that he bought a custom case for just because he said the guitar deserved it. And it's a nice case. I mean, I don't play guitar to know one case from another and how to best protect them. But I know he did spend some extra money to get the Rickenbacker properly shrouded in a case as he travels. He plays in I call it a bar band, but they play more than bars. They play the VFW Posts, and they've played a couple of outdoor concerts. Matter of fact, they've been invited to the Washington Cherry Blossom Music Festival on the National Mall in D.C. And they'll be playing down there pretty soon, couple of weeks, I think. Cherry blossoms are supposed to peak March 29th. And I think their gig is a weekday somewhere around that time. So he'll be down there with that pretty soon. We're going to try and get down there for it. You know, the cherry blossom traffic is so awful. I worked down there for years. And to try to find a parking place outside of your corporate parking lot or other reserved area is really awful. All the out-of-towners with their rental cars don't care about DC parking ordinance. So even if there's a meter or an hourly restriction of some kind, they don't care. And then you've got the tour buses on a fairly narrow one-lane loop around the National Mall. And I don't know how these guys are going to unload their gear to set up on a platform with the National Park Service. I understand they might be given a couple of parking places which are really up on the dirt on the edge of the National Mall. It's not really a parking place on the paved part of the loop that goes between the Capitol and the Washington Monument. So I don't know where, gee, we might have to park in the outer environs there and take a cab in or something. But anyway, he'll have the Rickenbacker there with his case, and maybe I'll snap a picture of it for you, Glenn, and send it along. Hello to Trish in the background. I heard her come in with it. Before that, I heard a dog barking. I wonder if you've got the mic gain turned up or something. I was listening in headphones to Rich's audio. I don't remember hearing all that in there before, so I wonder if he's slipped one of his settings to bring in all the low end. And wow, yeah, we had a miserable rainy morning here. It wasn't chilly enough for the wood stove by any means. I think it was up in the 50s by 10 or 11 o'clock, but it sure was miserable as far as rain was concerned. It wasn't a hard rain, just enough to get wet. You know, like Rich said, just enough to have to run the wipers on regular instead of intermittent. And now it looks like the skies have parted. I guess that usually means it's about to rain, but what I mean is that the skies have cleared and that the sun is peeking through the remaining cloud cover. So what we've got here, I didn't get a chance to look at the thermometer, but I think whatever it is has started to go off the coast there, and weather's becoming better. Yeah, it sounds like pretty good deal for Butch there to have quit when he did. You know, I think a lot of these Brinks, and there's a couple of other ones too. I think Wells Fargo is another security detail, runs the great big heavy armored trucks. I think a lot of the guys who are in that business are ex-military or ex-police, and they miss that sense of authority that often comes with carrying a weapon. Macho thing that's not anything to admire or emulate. And apparently your man Butch probably chafed under that kind of a protocol, and I can't blame him for wanting to get out of there. So if you've got your adult beverage good, pick it up. I think Rich was going upstairs for a minute or two. Now, Ernie's not quite back yet. I think he needs another couple minutes. So if anybody's in there, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm left holding the bag. Sir, WA3 VJB.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I guess that's what bothered Butch the most, because he was never in the military. Yeah, old Butch. Oh, jeepers. He's a ham radio operator, but never got his general. He always stayed a technician. Well, I saw him a number of years ago. Geez, I got the whole story about that guy many years prior. That apartment building his mother bought for him. So she died. When she died, he and his sister got all the millions, and I don't know where he is now. Anyway, she bought that apartment building for him, you know. And he had the top apartment. It's 4 stories high, and had a roof access. And, you know, it was a kind of a gable roof, I guess. And he had a little dormer right there out of a gable. He went out there one night, drunk, sat on the edge of the roof, looking down the street down below, and he fell off the roof. Landed on his head on the friggin' concrete sidewalk. He had more steel plates in his head than... I mean, I don't think he could walk through an airport security system without touching anything off, you know. He was all busted up. He wasn't right, you know. He's a good guy, don't get me wrong, but he just wasn't right. Oh my God. He had a perfect ham radio spot over there in Oxford, right on top of the hill. You know, big field out behind there, good antennas up. He had a field there once, which I went to, and it just turned into a big drunk, you know. Just a big snorting drunk party. There was some kid, traveling around all over New England on a unicycle, you know, taking donations for his college education. And he stopped at that party on his unicycle. He got a few bucks out of us, you know, no big deal. Well, the next morning, I stayed in my tent that night. You know, I set up a station there, 6 meters, and HF, and whatever. I stayed there that night in my tent. I went to bed about 11 o'clock. There was guys there that, you know, stayed up all night, you know, working all they could. And a lot of guys drinking all they could. I went to bed at 11. I got up next morning, I went and woke Butch up. Come on, Butch, give me a cup of coffee. I got some coffee, and he was wicked hungover. Really hungover bad. Came outside, and this kid with his unicycle, you know, he was crashed out in his tent still. There's his unicycle laying up against the garage. Butch saw that, and he says, "Oh man, am I glad I didn't see that last night. Jesus." I said, "If you'd have seen that last night, Butch, we'd be getting you up in the emergency room."
Yeah, I'd say. Well, he's lucky he's alive from falling off the roof. I was thinking of Anne Margaret when she fell off the scaffold and fell on her face. They did all kinds of plastic surgery to bring her around. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. God, we're talking ancient history now. But anyway, enough of that. I've got 4 acoustic guitars here. And fine on that Rickenbacker 12-string. I've never seen one. I know a buddy of mine had a Rickenbacker fretless bass. No frets. He loved that bass. He's dead now, but I think his daughter got it after he died. But anyway, I had a 12-string way back years ago. I didn't particularly care for it. It cost too much to respring it. But I've got I got that Fender, I've got that Ovation. I got a Martin guitar, a 2003 that I bought new. And I've got a Zager 50 series. Got a smaller body with a cutaway. I'm a small guy, you know, I'm not very big. These big jumbo guitars just don't fit me. They don't fit me all that well. But that Zager's a Zager Easy Play. You probably remember the name, Denny Zager. Zager and Evans. One-hit wonders. 1969. In the year 2525. Well, that was the guy that built this guitar, and it's signed by him.
Cool. Well, that's pretty cool. I remember that song. Have you ever seen the video to that song? It's really wild. They've got all this, there's a mix of science fiction and 1930s horror movie scenes in it. It's on YouTube. And it was a really, really grim song to begin with. But when I saw the video, it totally matched the mood of the song. I didn't know he made instruments. Interesting. I have to ask my friend about that. Zager 50 series. I wrote it down. Yeah, I've seen the Ovation. I don't know which Fender you've got, whether that's a Les Paul or which. And the Martin. All of them good stuff. I wonder if you ever had a Gibson SG. That was a smaller bodied guitar. It's the one Steve Miller played, known for the SG. I understand they have kind of a rubber neck, not very rigid at all. Kind of hard to deal with, keep them in tune. And I wonder which Rickenbacker you might have, or which 12-string you might have had. The thing that distinguished the Rickenbacker 12-string is that the high string is above the low string. So when you pluck it, it has a very different sound than when the two strings are the other way around. As a matter of fact, Pete just restrung his. That takes a long time. I don't think the strings are that expensive, but there's a lot to do, you know. And his sounds great. It's got that classic Byrds sound, as it should. I think the Bangles, Susanna Hoffs played a Rickenbacker 6-string, and being of a more diminutive build, it fit. So I don't know if you ever had a Rickenbacker 6 or not. And I don't know if any of the guitars you named are bass or whether they're full 6 strings or not. I think there's a company that makes guitars here in Annapolis called PRS, Paul Reed Smith. You've probably heard of them. Although he used to be in Annapolis, he moved over to the Eastern Shore about 10 miles, 15 miles across the bridge. And his guitars are fairly well regarded as well. But yeah, I haven't played guitar. I just kind of follow along with what Pete picks up. And what he's told me is a good sounding guitar. He bought one in high school that he wishes he never sold. It was a 73 Les Paul. Apparently they were built better then. He's tried to track it down. Never could find it.
Como Va. No, I'm back, but that wasn't me, Zero Beaten.
Wasn't me either, and I am back. K1ETP.
Rich and I were holding hands getting my daughter.
Back from the bus stop there, and then kick it over to Rich.
Okay, now we're talking Hollies. Just Santana, Paul Reed Smith. Now you bus stop. Where's GFH? What is Hollies references? No, I just was announcing I'm back. I missed everything you guys are saying. So, Rich, take it.
Yeah, I'm freshly back too. Sometimes I can't tell when you guys are talking and pausing, or if it's just that carrier that's exactly on the frequency here. But I'll have to check the stove, and it was almost completely out, so I had to nurse it back to health. So that's where I was. Boy, this I got it running over 300 watts, and take it down to 250. No need for all that power. Beat up my little amplifier here. But yeah, I am not a guitar guy. Don't know anything about them. I did build a Bassman amp for my son. He wanted a Bassman when he was playing guitar. Oh, about 15 years ago, and I dug up the schematic and I built it. And it works fine. He still has it. And that was a lot of fun to build. And had most of the components, and it came out pretty good. In fact, I Took a bunch of pictures of it. If you guys are interested, I could send them to you. But that's about the only thing I ever had to do with guitars. Never played, never tried to. Well, yeah, I did try to play. Gave that up real quick. And don't know much about them, the different types of guitars. But I too, Paul, was surprised that Zager from Zager and Evans built guitars. That's a surprise. Yeah, the One-Hit Wonders. My wife likes that song, In the Year 2525. I remember when that came out. I was in the service overseas, and that song came out. And every time I hear it, it reminds me of that period in time and where I was. You know, it's one of those songs that as soon as you hear it, you have a flashback to a time and a place. And The Year 2525 is one of those songs. So I just got about the last 5 or 8 minutes of the conversation because I've been upstairs and sort of got lassoed by the wife while I was up there too. So I have successfully snuck away, at least for now. Go ahead, Ernie. Fill us in on the bus stop. Bus stop. Hollies, yeah. K1ETP.
Oh, I thought maybe it was it Glenn's turn, or no? Is Glenn still in there, or did he go first?
No, you just got back.
No, you go ahead, Ernie. I gotta open up this guitar case. I gotta check it out.
All right, no, I think me and Paul double. Well, I don't think. I know me and Paul doubled. No, I was turning it to Glenn because I said I had missed the whole round there or two. So I was letting Glenn get back to Paul.
No, you were going to fill us in on the bus stop story there. Glenn's busy eating the desiccant bag.
All the ones that clearly say do not eat. No, I was referencing the Hollies because you said I was back from the bus stop. No, I really had nothing intelligent to add.
I can say so. Well, you send me all these softball pitches, Ernie.
Well, it's true, though. I
All right.
never do, right?
Did you hook your leveler up that we can do some assessment here? You want to do it another time?
Oh, yeah, we could. I mean, I could click it in, but yeah, we could do it another time. It's really, it's not that big a deal. Yeah, no, I don't want to. What was Glenn doing? Is he pulling out a guitar or something?
No, Trish just brought a brand new guitar case in for his 40-year-old Fender. I think that's the old one. He wore the case out on the street corner as the people threw the dollar bills in. The whole bottom of it was scraped off. But that's his way of living, you know. So she finally bought him a new one. She's apparently the breadwinner in the family. And it just came in, I guess, on an Amazon truck or wherever. And we were talking about guitar cases. A friend of mine has a Rickenbacker 12, and he has a custom case for it because he says the guitar deserves it. So, Glenn, did I misunderstand the story there, that this is all streetwear on the original one from the... Oh, never mind. Tell us about the guitar case.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to open the darn thing up, you son of a gun. I just got out of the bag. It's black. It's beautiful. It's shiny. And it's a hard case. Well, I got to put the microphonium down to get the single.
Use a knife.
By golly, ain't that a cocker? It's a plush interior. Cool beans. Oh, got a pair of keys in it too, so I can lock it up. Very good. I'm sorry, I turned the microwave. Silver gel pack in there. Yes, sir. No extras with it. Who made this thing? Knox Gear. So, yep, pretty nice case. Hard shell. What I like. The other two cases I have are hard shell. The Zager case actually says Zager on it. It's ball molded ABS, and that's the plus case. That thing has actually got a humid meter in it. Tells you what the humidity is inside the case. That's kind of neat. My Martin case, that's from Martin. Designed and sold by Martin. My guitar came with that. And so did the Zager. That came with that. That Zager case was a $200 case. But it came with the guitar, free shipping. That guitar was fairly inexpensive. You know, it was like, $1,200, I guess. Oh, he makes, you know, different guitars that rate up there, you know, the $5,000 range, but a reasonable price. He's got a 900 series. That's his flagship, and the Johnny Cash flagship. It's black lacquer. Oh man, that's a pretty thing. I'd like to have that, but that's not in the cards. So, who's it go to? Whoever wants to take it. I'm going to go put my guitar in this thing. Is anyone white here?
That's K1ETP. I had to switch antennas. The ZS6BKW is all wet, and the SWR is very high. When that crappy brown stuff gets wet, resonant frequency decreases. I'm in my full wave loop now. The full wave 40 meter loop. And I heard KB2 ZBT, was that right? Breaking in there, so why don't you go ahead and pick it up. This is K1ETP, and then it goes to WA3 VJB, I believe. Getting a little confused here in the rotation when it's more than two people. So go ahead, ZST, K1ETP.
This week I made it in there. I'm running very, very low power, and I just wanted to jump in and say good afternoon, you gentlemen. Just enjoying the conversation about guitars. I don't play, but it was interesting, so I thought I'd just listen to all November Yankee. I'm in Cohasset, New York. I'm on a Ranger and a dipole, and probably, I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 watts. That's about it. Back to you. K1ETP, KB2 ZST.
The OK Manny, KB2 ZST, K1ETP. Well, nice to meet you. My name's Rich. And I'm in Milford, Mass. And there's a foreign broadcast station right on frequency here. I don't know why we're on 85. I thought we were on 80, but we're on 85. And it's giving you a run for your money there with the low power of 15 watts or so. I'm running about 250 carrier here. So let's see if the other guys are hearing you. Ernie, are you hearing Manny? KD2 BRM and the group K1ETP.
Yeah, I am, Rich. I was going to say the same thing with the broadcast station coming in. I started out on 80, and then the Jesus Freaks came in, and I couldn't hear Don, so he asked to Q. I wasn't going to QSY. I was just going to stay there because I was there first. Nanny foo-foo. But that's why we moved up. And then I saw Who's Who Watches was down there. I think Jim, KM4XG, was down there. So, but now I see side banners again. So, I mean, if we got to scoot down a little bit, I guess we can. That works for me too, Rich. My antenna gets electrically long, I guess, when it rains, but nowhere near. I don't know what SWR you had, but mine normally is flat on 80 or here, and it's like a 1.2.5, so it's really not nothing to write home. That darn 600 ohm open wire stuff is great. If it's really pissing out, it'll it'll drop down to like, you know, resonant frequency be down by like E-cars, you know, 255, but it's not bad. It's doable. So, yeah, Manny, I'm hearing you. I don't know if you're hearing me. Call here is Kilo Delta 2 Bravo Romeo Mike. Name's Ernie in Farmingdale, Long Island. I got you in there, but yeah, you're just above the broadcast station. So let me throw it over to Paul, see if Paul's hearing you. Maybe he's got a better copy, because I'm guessing maybe the broadcast station isn't as strong down by him. So Paul, grab it, WA3 VJB KD2 BRM.
Yeah, I got you, Manny. KD2 ZST at Kerhonkson, New York. Oh, he's in there. Hang on.
Thank you for picking me up, guys. Yeah, I guess I'll work on hooking up my amplifier. Right now it's in line, but it's not set up for this band. But thank you for the break. I'll be listening 7-3 to all, and appreciate the break there. KD2 ZST here. I'll be clear and listening.
Okay, Manny, I guess you're hearing me here in Maryland. I doubled with you for a minute. KD2 ZST, Kerhonkson, New York. 15 watts is making the trip to Maryland, listening to you on an ITT McKay. And I heard that I was doubling with you because I'm also listening on a Maryland-based internet receiver on which you're about S7. It helped that you zero-beat the international broadcast station that I am hearing both here at home and on this node that I'm using to help pull you out. Hey, you're welcome to stay in. It's nice that you're listening along and let yourself be known. I have to wonder how many SWLs we've got on our afternoon AM gathering here on 80 or 85, wherever it happens to land. I'll tune across some selected internet-based receivers, and you look at the users, and you see 3 or 4 of them across several nodes, and they're all tuned to 7280 AM, you know. It's like, we have listeners. There's no way to tell who it is. But you got these folks who are obviously listening. Hello to all the ships at sea, shortwave listeners and what have you. I'm glad you raised your hand there, Manny, to say hello. I've got Kilo Delta 2 Zulu Sierra Tango. It sounds familiar, along with Manny as the name, Kerhonkson, New York, so we probably have worked before. Name is Paul, location Annapolis, and it's nice that we're able to pull you out of there. Glenn, up in Maine, are you hearing him? And I wonder if the guitar fits. And you didn't eat the desiccant, did you? N1YTN in the group WA3VJB.
NE1S.
And hi, Larry. I'll give it to you next. No, I didn't eat the desiccant. And I don't know if the guitar fits, so I got to get out there and check it out. And I'm not hearing Manny. There's too many broadcast stations overloading my receiver here. Oh, it is what it is. I'm on the Yaesu. It's a lot better to receive, try and notch those guys out, but up here on 85 this time of the afternoon, yeah, they overload everything around here. You're on 80, yeah, we probably ought to slide down to 80. But I'll be eating supper here shortly. Another 10 minutes or so. So I'll hang around for 10 minutes or so, and I'll have to get out of here. You can call me anything you want to, but don't call me late for supper. NE1S, go ahead, Larry. This is N1YTN.
Okay, Glenn, N1YTN in the group, NE1S, thanks. Good afternoon to Manny, and Ernie, and Rich, and Paul, and Glenn. Yeah, I'm hearing Manny up here. He doubled with you for a little while, Glenn, and was pretty much equal strength with you up here. For 15 watts, doing a really good job up in Ossipee, New Hampshire. So everyone's got a great signal. Glenn and Manny, you guys are probably down from the others, but pretty strong nonetheless. So I've been listening here probably for about an hour or so. Since Rich was in here the first time around, before he took a hiatus or a sabbatical or whatever it was. Guys are talking guitars and guitar cases and Rickenbackers and Gibson SGs. Yeah, another guy who played an SG was Frank Zappa. That was his guitar. And I'm mostly a bass player. I used to dub around on guitar, but always ended up playing bass in a band because they needed bass players worse than they needed guitar players, and I haven't really played much guitar at all in the last 40 years or so. It's always been bass, so I can't really even say I play guitar anymore. But I've got a 6-string Rickenbacker. What is it? 450, I think. Does that sound right? Model 450. There's no marking on it to say that's what it is, but I think that's what it is. It's from the 1960s. Solid body. And my brother's owned a lot of Ricks. He's got one now. He used to have this 12-string, and you could put the strings on either way, Paul, any way you wanted to. You could put the high of the pairs, you could put the higher string on the pair on the top or the bottom. I think my brother's was on the bottom, and it had a little bar that you could invoke and grab the one string of the pair to make it a 6-string. You know, the one string that was the octave higher than the others, or in the case of the high B and high E string, just you know, the one on the same side as the ones on the lower frequency strings. You could grab, you know, the bar would grab those down at the same time, pull them down against the fretboard, and then you could play it like a 6-string. But of course you were kind of limited because those strings would be there and they'd be in your way if you tried to stretch a string on a solo or something, you know. So it was a suboptimum 6-string, but it was a 6-string. You know, it's kind of a gimmick. But that was when we were back in high school. He had that guitar. And now besides my Rickenbacker, I have and a couple basses. I have an Epiphone Les Paul that was built in Korea in the 90s, and it was a lot cheaper than a Gibson. A lot less expensive, but it actually felt better in my hands than some of the Gibsons I was trying out, and I couldn't justify the money they were getting for them. I know they're getting a lot more for them now, but you know, that's inflation more than anything else. But anyway, I ended up buying it for, I think I paid around $375 for it or something, brand new, around 1992, maybe 91, something like that. And you know, it feels like a quality instrument, so I'm pretty happy with it. But like I say, I hardly ever play guitar anymore. I am still playing bass though. I jam with some guys every month, and occasionally somebody will be foolish enough to hire us. So where's it go? Back to probably either Rich or Ernie. K1ETP. And if I'm slightly off frequency, it's because I'm crystal controlled today. K1ETP in the group, then he wins.
Yeah, hold on. And you want to ask K1ETP, very good. Larry, good to hear you there. And yep, I've been at your place when your band was playing and you were on bass. You know, I think one of the best songs I've ever heard with bass guitar, almost played like a lead guitar, was the Rolling Stones' "She's So Cold." And you get a good sound system with a good low end. That song sounds great with the bass almost played like a lead. So anyways, the group's getting big here, so I'm not going to hold it very long. You guys are talking a lot about music, and I know a lot of you guys are music guys, and I don't play any instruments. But I listen. I listen all the time. So I haven't heard from you in a while, Paul, so why don't you go ahead and pick it up. VJB and the group, K1ETP.
All right, Rich. It's coming into the top of the hour here pretty soon. We've been declaring early happy hours. And Pam got back from the supermarket a little while ago, and she let me off the hook to help haul all the 3-cent bags. Our local jurisdiction has imposed a 3 cents per bag surcharge to get away from plastic grocery bags. And they're back to the paper bags now. And they're a little harder to carry. I mean, I can hook my fingers around as many as 5 of the plastic bags and, you know, get 5 in each hand and walk them on into the house. The paper bags are a little more fragile, probably better for the environment, but a little harder to carry. But I was not called upon to help haul them in, so I guess I'm in okay shape here. And Larry, hello. Yeah, good to hear you. I figured right away, since you were a little off frequency, he's on the crystal rig. Another bass song that you guys would probably appreciate as having close to a lead bass is Superstition by Stevie Wonder. That low E, I think it's a low E that starts it off. Really rattle your speakers there in your stereo. And that just walks all the way through the song. But yeah, She's So Cold is another one. And of course, some of the walking bass made famous by McCartney was done on a Hofner bass, left-handed played, which actually didn't have that much resonance as a bass goes. It's an interesting looking violin shape, but apparently it's not held in that much regard as an actual bass. Top of the hour, WA3 VJB Annapolis. And yet when you see one, you know it right away. And I was kind of struck by your description of, I guess, lowering the bridge for the other set of strings, or some kind of device on there to make the 12-string a 6-string, because you still have it on the neck. You still got the extra, fret and finger power on the neck from the other set of strings, even if they're silent. That is kind of a gimmick. And I think I'd just pick up a second guitar if I were playing, do the 6-string thing, or get one of those dual neck jobs that I think Zeppelin kind of made prominent. I know they were out there for a while, 6-string neck and a 12-string neck. And didn't Spinal Tap make fun of that with like a 5-neck kind of? It looked like almost looked like a clock. 5 or 6 necks off to the side as a parody of the dual neck guitar. And yeah, the Epiphone, that was kind of made fun of in the 90s. I don't guess it was as bad as people made fun of it as. To hear your characterization of how it felt pretty good. That's the important thing. I think somebody compared it to the Sears Silvertone when it came to having an authentic Les Paul custom. The Sears Silvertone had a pick guard that was known as Mother of Toilet Seat. Kind of a piece of Bakelite that was all too thick. And a neck that was all too thick, and the whole body was just not quite right. And I think the Epiphone was lumped in with the poor Sears Silvertone when it may not have been deserved. And I didn't know that Zappa played the SG. I would probably know that if I was more into Frank Zappa. But yeah, I'm back to Zager and Evans. I got to look that up for Glenn's part and understand what Zager's offerings involved, because that was a great song to begin with. And as I mentioned, the video is even more kind of chilling. But some of the chords in that song are just so ominous. You know, I'm reminded of Strawberry Alarm Clock, Incense and Peppermint. The chords in that are, to me, they're dark. But I'm one of those guys who sees colors with certain chords or notes. And so it affects me somewhat differently in a sensory way than Incense and Peppermint might. Ernie, you haven't had a turn, and you're one of the authentic musicians on Frequency here. Why don't you take it for a while and give a discussion? And we've got Manny kind of came and went in there because he was running 15 watts out of the Ranger. I heard you double, Manny, if you're still listening. So, yeah, you were doing fine. I don't think you were hearing me very well. And you may not have been hearing Glenn there, although Larry had you at New Hampshire. I don't know. Go figure. Here it comes, Ernie. KD2BRM in the group, WA3VJB band holding up.
Yeah, everything's holding up. Do you guys want to move down to 80? Because that broadcast station is certainly creeping up, and 80 seems clear for the most part. Does everybody want to slide down?
Okay, by me.
I can do it. I'll switch over to my other exciter, but I'll meet you down there. NE1S.
All right, yeah, I'm going to scoot down. I'm going to do it now. QSY and 280.
KB2 is LST QSY.
The 22nd of April, so this is not good Nearfest news. I don't know if Rich is still listening, but yeah, the Zager and Evans song, I know it. I'm not that familiar with it. Wasn't that big of a fan of it. One of the few weird 60s or 70s tunes that I really don't care much about. But I will listen to it more. But I know what you mean, Paul, about like hearing certain chords. And yeah, the Strawberry Alarm Clock has quite a couple of other interesting tunes. You probably can relate it to the Electric Prunes as well. I had Too Much to Dream last night. You probably see colors with that video too. The video is actually interesting because they're on like an American Bandstand, kind of like tiny little black and white stage, but the singer's like actually sweating. So I'm like, you don't see that too often in a music video. The singer's actually sweating, I guess, from the heat, the incandescent bulbs. But I did have a comment on Glenn's his case with the humidity thing. I'm like, what is that, for smuggling like Cuban cigars or something? I've never seen a guitar case with a humidistat. It's like a humidor. Glenn's got the machine gun and the Cuban cigars in there. So yeah, that's all I had to add because my headphones were on and off throughout that. So hopefully Larry joined us. He's got the other rig on. Paul, I don't know. I guess Glenn's in there. I'll throw it up. Let me throw it back to you, Paul, because I don't know if Rich is back or not. So that's my 2 cents on the Incense and Peppermints. I made a rhyme there. WA3VJB, KD2BRM.
Yeah, there were a lot of psychedelic era songs that aren't necessarily the basis for my seeing colors on certain chords, but certainly seem to associate themselves with psychedelia. Apparently, it's a sensory wiring thing. I've noticed it on songs like Stephen Stills' Love the One You're With, when the B3 gets its crescendo there in the middle. And other songs that aren't necessarily volatile that way, like some of the psychedelic songs are. So I don't know. It's nice to be wired that way, though. You get a little extra sensory stim there when the song comes along. There's what is it? Oh, I mean, we could talk about a number. We need Steve in here, VWC. He's kind of the what is that stuff that they put in yeast to make it rise? You get him along and it all gets going. So go ahead, Larry, and make one. I made a couple of comments about your poor Epiphone that hope you don't take offense at, but I think in as the years have passed, 30 some odd years, the Epiphone has got a better rap to it than it used to. NE1S in the group, WA3VJB.
WA3VJB in the group, NE1S. Okay, Paul, very good. No offense taken. Maybe my Epiphone took offense, but I didn't. Now, I mean, they're actually, for an inexpensive guitar, you know, I mean, to some extent you get what you pay for, but for an inexpensive guitar you could do a lot worse. And Epiphone used to be a good name with it used to be a very respected name when it was when they were made in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and were independent of Gibson. They were considered a very reputable makeup with Gibson and Fender and Rickenbacker, etc. And when I was in high school, I had one of those Epiphones. I had a an Epiphone Casino, which was a semi-solid, you know, a thin hollow body, and F-holes. Very nice guitar. My only complaint with it was the reach up into the higher frets. You'd get past the 14th fret or so, and you couldn't reach the higher frets. But it was a very nice guitar, and I stupidly let it go. I sold it for ridiculously cheap money at a music store in California because I ran out of money for a while, and I had a really nice Fender bass too, fretless Fender bass that I sold for even cheaper money, and regret doing both of those things, but I needed a plane ticket to fly back to Illinois and court my future wife, which is my present wife. Or I should say, who is my present wife. So I guess it was worth it. You know, you have to think about it, but no, just kidding. So yeah, and as far as certain combinations of notes do sound dark. I mean, there's, for example, if you play a note and make a dyad with the same note 6 half steps higher, that was actually in the Middle Ages, I believe, illegal to use that. They called it the devil's interval, and it was considered evil. So yeah, and it is it does have that dark sound to it for sure, but it's embedded in every dominant 7th chord. That interval is there. But played alone, it sounds darker than it does when it's embedded in a dominant 7th. So let's see, what else? Yeah, no, the Korean Epiphones, when they were made in Korea, were actually not bad instruments for the price at all. And even the Silvertones now, some of those are getting sought after because, you know, it's like old radios. It's kind of a nostalgia thing, and people have them in their collections and even play them. Believe it or not. I remember when they were out there and Sears was selling them, everybody considered them crap because, for the most part, they were. But you know, there were some really horrible cheap guitars. Some of the early Japanese guitar, Taisco, and some of those, you know, the action was horrible, and they tear up your fingers, and so on. So Ernie, I did not change rigs, I just changed exciters. The exciter in the rack here is crystal controlled, and I have another exciter plumbed into the rig here I can switch to that's a modified Collins 310B, which has the PTO in it, so I can be frequency agile. Anyway, let's see, I turned it to Rich. Is Rich still in here? Or maybe I should go to Glenn. I think Glenn got passed over. And I think Manny signed. So let me pass it to Glenn. N1YTN and the group, NE1S.
I think Glenn was going to get out of here at 4 o'clock for dinner, and he had turned it over to me under that assumption. So I guess that's the case. And Rich said it was too musical for him, so he signed out. Although I wanted to ask him more about building the Bassman, see what kind of tube complement he might have put in there. I think I've seen those amps before. And was that a fretless Precision that you sold for your plane ticket? I remember when they were popular. That was the bass in Seinfeld, if I remember correctly. The one they used to bridge the segments of the episodes. I think that was a fretless Precision.
I think I'd be surprised, because I don't know how you'd get that pop and slap sound with a fretless bass. You know, you'd need a more metallic sounding instrument that the presence of the frets would give you. I mean, I could be wrong, Paul, but I don't know how you'd get that sound out of a fretless bass. And you're close. What I had was a Fender Jazz bass that I put a fretless Precision neck on. I put a fretless maple Precision neck on it that I bought in a music store for $75, and it was the neck was brand new. WA3VJB NE1S.
Paul, I don't know if Manny was still in there. I heard somebody say they were still in there, and I think the Seinfeld bass was done on a keyboard. I don't think that was even a real guitar.
Yes, it was.
Pop my bubble.
I'm listening.
Go ahead and make one. We're all hearing you.
Well, again, I don't have much to add to the conversation except that I'm enjoying the conversation about the instruments and the groups, you know, different musicians. And, I'm not sure how I'm making it out there. I did put the amplifier on, so hoping that I'm clear enough to hear and strong enough. But I just want to absorb as much as I can about the instrument part there. So let me take a standby. Appreciate that. KB2ZST.
Yeah, very good, Manny. That's fine.
K1ETP. Yeah, I'm still in here, Paul.
Well, go ahead. You talk then, Rich.
Yeah, right. But you are right. A little too musical for me. But as far as the Fender Bassman goes, when I built that, the tube complement was 12 AX7s and push-pull 6V6. What were they? The heavy-duty one, the GCs. Is that what they are? Yeah. 6L6 GCs. But 12. I think the first stage might have been a 12 AY7. I'm not sure. but you know, a relatively simple amp to build, really.
Well, what'd you do for cabinet? Because that was part of it, and then the speaker element was important. And I guess the iron is kind of crucial too. It's kind of cool that you cobbled it all together. Did your son like the sound of it? I mean, that's the ultimate test.
Yeah, he did. And his guitar instructor thought that it was right on. He liked the sound of it. No, I just built it on a chassis, and he built some cabinets for speakers, and yeah, it was kind of cobbled together. But it was built on a chassis, and it was point to point. It wasn't the basement type wiring that they used. It was more point to point wiring rather than a harness.
That's still pretty cool. I got to hand it to you for somebody who actually doesn't play to be able to put that together and have it sound good. It's quite an achievement. I mean, my friend, I consider him a virtuoso. He doesn't think so, but the amps that he builds for not for bass guitar but regular are taken up by bands who seek that sound out. Apparently, there's some sort of a characteristic that allows you to express the sound of the amp by the way you're playing into it. And I don't play, but Larry probably gets it. And apparently, if not only your son, but his instructor said, hey, you got it, well, then you could find yourself in a new line of work.
It was a project. It was a challenge, and it was fun to build. I took my time building. I got some pictures of it. I'll dig them up and send them to you, Paul, if you want. In fact, I sent them to Larry. Larry, you remember it, right?
I remember you telling me about the amp. I'm not sure I ever saw any pictures of it, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I sent a few pictures and you commented on it. But I'll dig those. They're in... Oh, boy, I don't even know what file they're in. I have to look for them.
Count me in. I'd like to see it.
All right, I'll do it.
Those amps were really nothing special. I mean, they were quality built and designed amplifiers, but it's pretty easy to if with a tube amplifier to make a good sounding guitar amplifier. And actually, the Bassman was kind of a crappy bass amp. To turn it up at a level where you could be heard above the drums, you'd get all kinds of distortion. You couldn't get a clean bass note through it that would be heard above your average drummer. But the guitar players really liked them because they had that tube overdrive distortion that added to the sound. But bass has to have a lot of power, a lot of clean power, and it can be done, but rather expensively with tubes. And as soon as direct coupled solid state output stages became possible, then clean bass amps became possible. So I always use a solid state amp for bass, whereas solid state amps on guitars sound, very antiseptic, I guess would be the word, too clean and not very interesting. Electric guitar, you want a little bit of dirt. I mean, not buzzbox distortion, but a little bit of dirt warms up the sound. So, I had a Bassman in college with the 212s in the cabinet and everything, but I found it really inadequate and traded it in for a solid state bass amp. with a pair of 15-inch CTSs in the cabinet. Boy, was that thing a monster to haul around. Also, just a couple weeks ago, I worked on a Fender Showman for a guitarist that I'm working with now. And the electrolytics were so leaky in it that you couldn't fire it up without it popping the fuse. So I replaced all the electrolytics in the thing. I found a kit you could buy that had all the electrolytics in it, specifically for Fender amps, and they had different kits for different Fender amps, and got it back to him, and he played it at our last rehearsal, and it's really nice. It's very quiet, you know, no hum when there's or anything when you're not playing, even with the volume turned up pretty high. And he's very happy with it. NE1S.
23 VJP.
82 BRM. I'll take it real quick here. Wow, Rich, Larry just he just slapped you around. He said it was not hard to put together, so that takes away all the compliment Paul said. And he said it sounded like crap. So there you go. Put that in your put that in your pipe and smoke it, Richaroni.
Sounds great on guitar, only crap on bass.
Yeah, it sounded great in guitar. And I pulled out my folder, my Bassman amp folder, and the model I built was I copied the 5F6A model of the Bassman.
Okay, I don't have those model numbers memorized, but the popular Bassman circuit did use 12AX7s in the lower level stages. The driver stage, if you can call it that, it's class AB1, but the last stage before the output stage could have been a 12AT7, but you couldn't prove it by me.
Was a 12AX7 in the in that particular model.
Okay, I can buy that.
I'm still having my bubble popped over that being a keyboard noise in Seinfeld. What do you know about that, Ernie?
You know, I could swear I read that somewhere, that wasn't actually a bass guitar. It was done on like some, you know, cheap 7285 Chinese knockoff like Casio keyboard.
Oh, yellowy.
Yeah, because if you go onto a crappy Chinese-made keyboard,
I never got that.
You're right about needing the fret to make the noise, though. The more I thought about it, it would not have been a fretless. You got that fret in there to kind of give the mechanical perch for the pluck.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd get that kind of sound out of the fretless. Not that it can't be done, I just don't know how you'd get it.
Well, I seem to remember there was a discussion of urban-style bass playing, and there was a nickname for the Fender Precision, was that it was a Fender percussion. So apparently that kind of playing was associated with the Fender Precision, and that's how they got it.
Yeah, well, I've got plenty of good slappy pop bass on Precisions, so I could believe that. But there's a lot of basses that I've heard people play very well. I wonder if you guys have ever are familiar with Victor Wooten and have ever heard him play, he's a virtuoso.
Not here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy is just so talented, and not just slap and pop. He can do anything. He's a real real phenom. Was voted best bass player, I think, several years in a row by Bass Player magazine or something. I've got the CD of his, and I just love it. But anyway, you know, he's he's at a totally different level.
SQ1TV on it. I'm gonna jump out here, you guys. I gotta dig those pictures up. You know, they're on my. I think they're on my old Picasa. Remember Picasa? Photo library. I think that's where they are. I gotta go dig them up. But I'm gonna jump out of here for now, you guys. Good talking to you, and so we can have more of the conversation, but it was quite interesting. And good to hear from you, Larry. Don't hear you on 40 that often, but we'll catch up with you fellows a little bit later, perhaps tomorrow. K1ETP, going to sign and listen for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing those pictures, Rich. If you sent them to me, it was years ago. And they're probably somewhere on my hard drive, because even when I switch computers, I copy everything over. But finding them, well, that's another story. I'd like to see them again, and don't forget to copy Paul. Thanks.
Yeah, see you later, Rich. Good hearing you in there today. And man, maybe it's a function of your signal strength. It's just been so loud in here that I'm hearing low-end response that I don't remember when you're less strong. But it's been good to hear. And maybe catch you tomorrow or later in the week. WA3 VJB clear with your radio.
Yeah, all right,
Yeah,
Paul.
73 Richard Rollins. Maybe catch you tomorrow. KD2 BRM.
KB2 ZST.
Yeah, Manny, the amp helped, by the way.
It did. You guys ever heard of Tommy Tedesco? Guitarist?
I can't say I have. I might have, but it's not ringing a bell at the moment.
No, I was going to comment before this comment. I was going to say, by the time this Q-Say is over, I'm going to know how to play a guitar. Great conversation there.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well,
It's
you
the
know,
second satisfying, wholesome Q-Cell.
that the people on the frequency apparently know something about, so it's something we can have an intelligent QSO about, or reasonably intelligent. So, yep, and you know, a lot of musicians are into the technical aspects too, and vice versa. So you know, there's a lot of hams that play and work on amps and stuff like that. You know, I was building guitar amplifiers when I was a kid, long before I got my ham license.
I'll be honest with you. You know, there's so much involved in. I mean, the electronics, the type of wood, the you know, all the components and all of that. It's very interesting. Yeah, I remember when I was a little younger, I went to a couple of the concerts there in the Fillmore East and the Garden, Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, all those groups. I don't know. That was back in my time, and I went to quite a few concerts, but there were some good musicians back then, for sure. And yeah, I kind of like. I appreciate when someone knows what they're talking about, when it comes to hitting. So I don't have much to put in there as far as I've never built anything like that. I'm actually I'm a new AMer here, so I'm kind of getting used to the format there. So pleasure meeting all you guys. I think there's Rich, Ernie, Larry, Paul, and I don't know if I left anybody else out there, but this is KB2ZST with the group.
Is it Kilo Delta 2 Zulu Sierra Tango?
No, Kilo Bravo 2. Kilo Bravo 2. Paul, you remember me now?
Yeah, I just wrote it down wrong. Yeah, I want to draw your attention to a YouTube video from the Fillmore East days. It's not of the venue, but it's a song that I think will take you right back. It's by Zeppelin, and it's the song called Thank You, but you have to search for it with the words thank you and backing track. And it's without the lead vocals, but all the instruments are there. And it's just a wonderful, authentic, from the original studio recording, without the vocals, that pulls all the instruments forward. And I am just transported right back to 1971 when I hear it, because it's got just a little bit of tape distortion on it, but all the instruments are like all there, and left to right channel, you can hear all the separation as they originally sat there. So I draw your attention to that, Manny, because I think you'll have a flashback.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, those were the days. Wow. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix too. He used to play with his teeth at one time. I believe I watched him do that. Right there in the garden. Yeah, in the garden. And boy, I'll tell you, that was amazing. That guy was he was good with a guitar for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, he took the music up another notch, that's for sure. But I don't think playing with his teeth was part of that. I mean, he certainly did that, but I don't think that was his major contribution. But obviously he was great. There were a lot of greats. The kind of stuff I really like, my favorite stuff was, when Clapton was playing with Winwood and Blind Faith, Derek and the Dominoes, Allman Brothers, Traffic, Dave Mason, that era. And when I was in college in the middle 70s, I went to college at the University of Illinois down in Urbana, Illinois, or Champaign. There were like two cities right next to each other, and the campus straddled both cities. We were about 130 miles south of Chicago, and all the blues bands would come down from Chicago and play in the campus bars. Sun Seals, Fenton Robinson, Eddie Shaw and the Wolfgang, Coco Taylor, Fenton Robinson, all these Buddy Guy, all these fairly big names would come down and play, and we'd get to see them, for a couple bucks. And it was great. And also, at one of the bars there, a bar called Ruby Gulch, you'd see people who were coming through who were just starting to make a name for themselves. And Billy Joel played there before he got real big. I saw, my wife and I went and saw Tom Waits there when he was putting together his third record. He was selling his second record at the show, but he was playing stuff from his third record. And it was just an amazing time. Saw Zappa there once. Not at Ruby Gulch or a bar. Zappa played at, it was some big campus building where they had concerts, like an auditorium. Oh, I saw Larry Coryell, the jazz guitarist, and his band play at a different auditorium on campus. And the other bands that I've seen, I don't remember who they were because, well, you can probably figure that out. Anyone else?
Yeah, it's kind of lost, right? The gray matter's got a dead spot in it.
Yeah, I know it must have been a good time, though.
Bad blocks in the hard drive. KB1VWC.
There he is. I wondered if you were listening. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, I've been listening in for a while, but I don't have a whole lot to add to this conversation. So, anyway, carry on, gentlemen.
The yeast has arrived. Arrived? Well, how the hell do you say that properly? Good afternoon, KD2BRM. Will I see you tonight? That's my Tom Waits impression. On a downtown train.
Yeah, I liked his earlier stuff better than his later stuff. I mean, the first three albums, and then I bought the fourth album, which was titled Pasties in a G-String. And he got a little too weird for me. I mean, it was less music and more poetry, and some people really liked it, but I'm just more musical.
I think that's Rich Aroni's uniform when he's playing radio.
I'm getting a lot of splash from 85 now. Who was that?
Phil Spector's Wall of Sound was the Wrecking Crew. You ever heard of the Wrecking Crew?
Yeah, I heard of the Wrecking Crew, Manny. I don't know, did your amp kick off, or is the band taking a dip?
Oh, yeah, okay. I actually switched it to standby for a second. Yeah, okay. How am I making it now, okay?
Yeah, you mentioned something about the Wrecking Crew?
Yeah, I was just wondering if any of you guys heard about the Wrecking Crew.
Of course.
And it's very interesting. I watched it for the first time around 4 weeks ago. Never knew that existed.
What did you watch? I'm aware of the musicians, the studio musicians that backed up a lot of the popular songs called the Wrecking Crew, but what did you watch?
That's exactly what I watched. All the musicians, doing their thing there, and I found it very interesting.
So did they make a movie or a documentary or something?
Yeah, it was a couple hours long. I watched it over my friend Dave's. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you know Dave, K2IJY. He introduced it to me.
Yeah, sure, I know Dave. K2IJY, absolutely. Yeah, well, I have to look for that. I don't subscribe to Netflix or, whatever their competitors are. I just don't do that. But I'll see if I can find it out there on YouTube or something. Maybe it's not there, maybe it is. Anyone else?
KB2 Steve.
Yeah, you guys have a good appreciation of that vintage of music. It's kind of cool to work it over. Many years ago, when I worked at CNN, I used to do morning live shots with the anchor. The program was called Daybreak, Carol Costello, and she had a fairly lighthearted approach to segments that I contributed to, which was mostly stuff that was happening in Washington. But as we came out of a commercial break, she would bring in music that we're talking about, and one day she brought in Hendrix and Watchtower. And, you know, as you grooving along, as she was about to hand it over to me. And I said, Carol, I have a trivia question for you, and this is totally unscripted. How many artists can you name who did that song, which was written by Bob Dylan? I gave her that much. And she named Dylan, she named Hendrix. And I said, okay, the other one you might remember is Dave Mason. And she looked a little puzzled. I said, yeah, Dave Mason did a version of the song. It's fantastic. And sure enough, next hour, I think she found it and queued it up. And it's like, yeah, remember that one, Larry?
Oh, yeah, I've got it on vinyl upstairs. I've got that album. And another piece of trivia, Dave Mason played one of the guitars in Hendrix's version that was recorded.
Yes, I knew that. That was a little further down in the weeds than I could have expected Dear Carol to have responded to.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of musicians that don't even recognize that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a very, very satisfying conversation this afternoon. I was going to accuse Steve of not being old enough to appreciate this music, but that would provoke him.
Zappa? Somebody said Zappa.
I know all of the music for which you are speaking.
Seriously, Zappa?
JTD in there, too.
Yeah, W2JTD. Somebody said Zappa.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Two Pauls up there. This is going to get confusing. Yeah, somehow we got on the conversation of the music we all grew up with, and Zappa was part of it. Yeah, I mentioned that I'd seen him and his band when I in Illinois, at the University of Illinois, and then me and another ham, after I moved to the Portland, Maine area, went and saw him in Portland. The ham at the time was KA1ZX, Greg Hansen. And Greg, I think, has changed his call sign. I think it's W1XZ now. But I see him at Nearfest occasionally still. And yeah, we back in the 80s, we went and saw Zappa in Portland. So I got to see Zappa twice.
I stand in awe, Larry. Would that I could have. Weasels Rip My Flesh, 1970, a compilation album after he broke the band up. But still, I play it once a week. It's my church. Anyway, hi Larry, hi Paul, whoever else is in here, W2JTD, Kate May. Gonna run upstairs for a minute, but I'll be back.
Good afternoon, Paul. JTD, Paul VJB. I'm going to send you a link with the answer to the Seinfeld question.
I may have gotten the same link from our artist formerly known as the Ape Man. W2VW just sent me a link as well about that controversy.
Oh, Very Weak is listening. Hello, Very Weak.
Send me the link too. My email's getting4z,
Hey Larry, I'll send you mine, and Ernie, I'll send this to you. Just combine it.
Okay, yeah, I text the link to you, Paul. It was from Reverb.com. and it was done on like a Korg M1 or something keyboard, something like that. Nothing too crazy.
Dave says hi, Ernie.
Hi, Dave. You know, Dave was on the other day, and he said he had to run quickly, and, you know, I made a comment, but I guess he signed already. You know Dave is the CEO of Boeing, right?
No, yeah, he's got a lot of airplane trouble.
Yeah, look up the CEO of Boeing.
I saw him on the network news when the door came unhinged.
Yeah, I was like, no wonder why he doesn't have time to play 40 meters. He's got lawsuits up the wazoo.
I hope he builds his transmitters better than his airplanes.
Oh, you can guarantee that.
Ernie, BRM. Hi to you.
So this is the hurling insults net to try to get people to sign in. I got it.
Yes, very true, Steve. Yes, and good afternoon.
Used to be Cuneiform, play tablets and stylus.
That one's that's not a tough one. It just, yeah, W2 JTD. Gotcha. Yep. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Dave has a funny little point. When the other Dave Calhoun was the president of GE, our Dave Calhoun used to get his emails.
Our Dave Calhoun was way more qualified to be president of GE.
They certainly deserved his
W2XR on frequency.
Hey, Bruce.
A Bruce impersonator.
Yeah, Paul VJB, that's the same clip in the reverb link. And good afternoon, Bruce.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? W2XR, heard you talking about Dave Calhoun and the Wrecking Crew, and I'm sure somebody must have mentioned Carol Kay.
No, it was Hal Blaine, Bruce.
I almost did, though.
Carol Kay, the bass player.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And before she played bass, she was a jazz guitarist, playing in the clubs in L.A.
I think she was responsible for laying down bass on something, I think I read like 10,000 tracks or something, or maybe it was 1,000. That sounds more realistic.
She played on a lot of popular songs, that's for sure. That's for sure. The Wrecking Crew and the Funk Brothers backed up a lot of the Motown bands. Yeah, I think. I mean, she was a really good player, but she played on some real, mediocre songs. But I guess if you're making a living with music, that's what you got to do.
The Beat Goes On, Sonny and Cher. She came up with that one.
He also was on the Hogan's Heroes theme song.
I had worked for GE for, I guess, about 5 years after my company was acquired by GE. And there was a great book that I had written about Jack Welch and his whole concept of running and ultimately destroying what was a world-class company. And Dave Calhoun was a firm believer in all of those tenets that Jack Welch had really been an advocate of. And, well, that's another conversation, I guess, for another time. W2XR.
And Carol Kay wound up playing on the Hogan's Heroes theme song, says our man Dave Calhoun.
Seriously. That's some cool trivia. I know nothing.
I didn't know that, but I can certainly believe that.
Clink, you idiot.
Burkhalter. I think he was the best character.
Yes, sir, an idiot.
Yeah, man. That was cutting edge. Oh, them was the times. W2JTD, Cape May. I'm on the K7 POS, so if I crap out, yeah, it's because I don't have it right yet.
Well, all right.
You know how it is.
Oh, you having any of that 5-joint soup?
5-joint soup.
R. Crumb.
I got zap number 2 on, but no 5-joint soup. I don't have that one. Although I have, I have smoked 5 joints and eaten soup, but I'm not familiar with the comical, parlay of said experience.
It's coming up on
Was that R. Crumb cartoon you posted earlier?
But good talking to you all you guys this afternoon. 73 NE1S.
See you later, Larry. Good to hear you. The 310's doing fine. Nice and stable. Holding frequency, just high fine business.
Yeah. Good yanking with you, Larry. W2JTD.
7-3, Larry, KB2ZSD.
Take care, Larry. Bruce, W2XR.
You know, it's funny, Bruce. What I posted this morning, I'm kind of like a fly. I live in the now, and it's not exactly my choice. So, the past is a mystery, and the future is unknown. But what we have here now is bad SWR.
Let me just check the tuning real quick here. Looks good, actually. Yeah, we're just fine.
Well, that's the rumor. And you look good on Facebook, too. I don't care what anybody says. You too, Paul, VJB. Maggie mentioned something about you today. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't negative.
Okay, I'll take it at face value then.
Yeah, gotta run with what you got, man. Now, she likes you. Yeah. I mean, she hasn't been in it that long.
Thanks, I think.
Yeah. Hey, nice run in the Datsun, by the way. Yeah, I gave my Spitfire to my son-in-law. He's rebuilding it completely. It's almost done. The bone of contention is a roll bar, and he's a little bit late on the roll bar, but I'll buy it. $750, man. Bam, roll bar. Because you don't want... Well, you should have one, too, thinking about it.
Yeah, there was a factory roll bar. I had a 70-2000 that had the factory roll bar. That's the hot ticket. But, when you're in an open car in the first place, even a roll bar is not going to save you. I mean, yes, it'll help, but the windshield's still going to fold, and if you're in just the wrong position, it's doomsday. Yeah, that was a good run. We had only put about 30 miles on it. It wasn't that far of a run, but it was a nice day, for sure. My project in the coming week or two is the 60th anniversary of my grandfather's purchase of a 1964 Buick. The Buick Electra that I still have was purchased March 10th. That's the day he brought it home. And I'm trying to reach the current owners of the house my grandparents lived in 1964 to say that I'm going to roll by and take some pictures with my dad's 1962 Pentax that I'm getting back from the shop, getting new gaskets in it, with a roll of Tri-X. How authentic can this be, start to finish? And the Electromobile is going to get its 60th year ride, so I'll have that fully documented for sure. Well, I promised Pam that I'd get in there for happy hour at the 5 o'clock appointed hour. Bruce, hearing you on is a treat. I don't know when the last time was I worked you on 40. A great signal coming in here. And then, Ernie and Rich and Glenn. I think Manny signed out. Larry came and went. Who else was in here today? Man, this is the second. Glenn was in here, too. This is the second really satisfying QSO I've had in one day. This morning I was on here for an hour and a half or so. And it just had nothing to do with grid leak resistors. It was really, really good topic. So thank you guys for being on the radio here for an enjoyable rainy gray day here at Annapolis. I'm going to pass it over to the Mistress of Ceremonies, KD2BRM, and I'll catch you guys another time. I'll listen out for a little while here. WA3 VJB Annapolis.
73 Paul and 732 St. Pam.
All right, Paul, 73. I guess I should be wearing my pasties and G-string. Is that what you're saying? So, always a pleasure, man. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here, too. I got a couple of things to do upstairs, and the group is large enough to carry on, so nobody will miss me. 82 BRM is clear, 73 to all. Bruce, nice hearing you. Paul, JTD. Larry's gone. Yeah, whoever else I missed, 73, always a pleasure. Hopefully catch you guys tomorrow. KD2 BRM is clear, 7-3.
Yeah, 73, Ernie. Good to hear your radio this afternoon. And Paul, before you leave, is it an H1A or an H3V?
It's the H3 with the 1/1000th.
I need a prefix. Suffix. Adjufix.
Perfect double. I didn't catch that, Paul. Did you say it was an H1A or an H3V?
I'm not hip to the RRL code.
Wait a minute. I'm doubling again.
I still have my own kidneys. Over.
I think you said an H3V. I have the same exact camera. Mine's a Honeywell. They made an Asahi Pentax too, of course.
Yeah, mine's the Highland variant.
Stuff. No. It was a burp in the ionosphere. No, I know nothing about birthing those babies, Miss Scarlett. That was my father. I've got all this crap, but I don't know. Maybe you want it. I'll bundle it up and give it to you. You know, my price. I'll give you $12 to take it. 13 on a bad day.